It's that time again where we get to the end of the season, we start entertaining the start of the window, and we're linked with this guy, we're linked with that guy, we're linked with this guy, we're linked with that guy. And the problem is, unlike years prior where we're linked with players and it turns out to be like, okay, it's not too many links, but there's a couple here and we're definitely getting a few of them. Now, we're linked with the world, and we genuinely don't know what we're getting. Except for a few, where if you read in between the lines and you know how things have been working, you have a pretty good idea on what to expect. So I'm here to help with that process, because I'm going to show you names that Chelsea have already been linked with for the summer window, and I'm going to tell you whether they're realistic or not. And why? Not necessarily who I would want. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. But I will sprinkle in there, like some Parmesan cheese or some salt, yeah, what I would want to. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. We're starting off with the strikers. This is the list that has been collated. Let's get into it. Starting with the strikers that Chelsea have been linked with. Liam Delap, Victor Osimhen, Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko, Jonathan David. Pretty clear. And so far, there's been no one else except those names. Now, off the bat, and I've said this for a while, yeah, Liam Delap is the number one target. Without a doubt. Should he be the number one target? No. What should be the number one target, for me, and I think for a few of you, let me know in the comments what you think, Victor Osimhen, without even a question. Without even a question. Because at least with Victor Osimhen, I know I'm getting someone high caliber. Yeah? Victor Osimhen is a sort of striker that if we have him, that's it. We're sorted. I don't need to look at the striker situation anymore. I don't need to worry. Yeah? Even if he has a few off moments. But I trust him. As a striker, I can trust. Yeah? As a striker that I can move forward with. You know, there's calibers here. There's levels. Osimhen, for me, is it. Osimhen will not be joining Chelsea. If he does, then I will put my hands up and say, thank God I am wrong. Because I want the guy. But I don't see it happening. Why? Because Chelsea are not going to pay him his salary. What he wants as a salary. Going over 250,000, 300,000 a week. Chelsea are just not going to do that. Now, if they did, and they prove me wrong, I am all for it. If Chelsea start doing business in that level again, I'm supporting. I'm on board. Yeah, you have my backing, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The club is not interested in going anywhere near those sort of numbers again. They're just not. And some will say that's a good thing. It's not. You're going to get outpriced by top clubs. It's as simple as that. We are living in a time now, unlike decades before, where players were really looking for loyalty, looking for where their best is for their football, not for their pockets, because there wasn't really much money in the game before, whereas now it's all money. And rightly so, I guess. Players are going to look for their own interests. Because if they're not looking out for their own interests, who is? Everyone else is looking out for their own interests. Everyone else is looking for their own pockets. Everyone else is looking for what is the highest salary they can get and where. So it would be a bit foolish to be left behind in today's climate and today's market. Do you know what I mean? So this is where I look at Chelsea. I'm going, you're not allowing yourselves to be competitive. Now, I'm not saying pay everyone a flipping $500,000 a week salary. No. You have to balance the wage structure, of course. But those few gems that you have that are top level, yeah, you got to pay them their right. And if there's any other player that is not at that level that's complaining, tough. Soak it in and deal with it. Get better and get yourself to that level if you want that money. That's the motivation now. You know? Anyway. Maybe I'm thinking too old school. I don't think I am. I'm thinking pretty new school as far as I'm concerned. This is the way that we live now, no? Anyway, Victor Osimhen would be for me. The other names mentioned here. We got Hugo Ekitike. I love saying his name like that, Ekitike. If I'm going to pronounce it correctly, right? Ekitike, I'm guessing. Ekitike? Ekitike. But Hugo, we'll call him Hugo. Benjamin Sesko. And Jonathan David, listen, I think Jonathan David here is the backup to the backup to the backup. Someone that won't really cost too much. Someone that might just get you by. Well, probably won't demand too much, but you end up with a new striker. That's basically it. Hugo has actually been performing well this season. I don't think will cost astronomical money either, but doesn't have enough of a track record for us to know what is he going to do year in, year out, you know? And Sesko's just a weird one. I don't think Sesko suits Premier League football. I think we'd all be disappointed. Well, I think if he goes to Chelsea or he goes to Arsenal, he goes to Liverpool, I think he just doesn't perform. That's my own opinion on him. I think where he is, he performs, and that environment allows him to do that for the way that he is, for the type of player that he is. I think you bring him into the Premier League, I think he stinks. That's my honest opinion. I say stinks. I'm not saying he's going to score none, but I think you won't really get the levels that you're expecting at a top level club from a Benjamin Sesko. That's just me. Liam Delap. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I like Liam Delap. Yeah, I like Liam Delap. But I don't like him to be the number one striker. I like him to be a number two. I'd like him to bounce off another. If you got me Osimhen and Delap, done. Done. Finito. We don't need to look at a striker ever again. Yeah, ever again. We're done. But that's not what's going to happen. And I think with Liam Delap, well, there was news in regards to Osimhen. David Ornstein said Man United are not looking at him. I'm surprised. I thought United were. I don't see even a reason why to say that, United are not looking at him. But what does that do? You know, because sometimes I look at journalists, I'm like, why have they put out that information? Is there a motive behind it? And more times than not, there is. But with this, and I've got to be honest, that doesn't get Ornstein anything to come and say, yeah, United are not in for Osimhen. So I'm taking that as, yeah, legit. Okay, maybe United are not looking at him, which is baffling. I thought they were. But Liam Delap is of interest. And again, is this a reflection of the financial situation that everyone is in now with FFP and specifically PSR in the Premier League? That everyone is now having to just look at their books and go, no, we don't want to pay that. Like, is that what's going on? Because again, I think that hinders everybody. When you're looking in terms of Europe as a whole, you're hindering yourself completely. Anyway, Liam Delap is of interest to Chelsea, we know that. Is apparently of interest to Man United too, but apparently is of interest to Newcastle. And that's not at the expense of Isak. Apparently, Newcastle are looking to keep Isak and add Delap. You see, that I can agree with. That is a mad partnership. That's Newcastle doing things correctly. They've got their big man, their big talisman, their big striker. Now you add a supplement to it. It's like eating loads of protein and then you have a shake. But you don't rely on the shake only. You know what I mean? Because that's not normal. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not good for your body. You got to eat some real protein. You know, balance. Now, Chelsea are in a situation where without Champions League football, how can you compete? That's another layer added on here. We'll see what ends up happening. But I think Chelsea are going to go all in for Liam Delap. And if we don't get Liam Delap, I honestly see us going after someone like Jonathan David instead and just suck it up. That's what I think is going to happen. If it's up to me, Osimhen, Delap, done, sorted. Don't need to look at another striker again. And then Jackson can be there too. Look, that's 3 strikers, sorted. And then from that point, you can start looking to academy. You can start looking to any young player coming through. And then, give them the time, no pressure. You can do things to young players as you should. That would be me. Now, wingers. Let's move. Wingers, Nico Williams, Jamie Gittins, Alejandro Garnacho, Alberto Del Rio, Ricardo Rodriguez. Right? Now, if you know old school WWE, you would know exactly what I've just referenced. Yeah, Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez. Unbelievable. Been a long time since I said those names. But listen, this winger situation is very easy very easy to just end. Yeah, end. Nico Williams is not happening. Can we just... Look, if Nico Williams was going to happen, that would have happened 2 years ago. It's not happening. Forget it. Why? The same reason we're not getting Osimhen. Nico Williams is already on a crazy salary. I say crazy salary. He's not on a crazy salary. For me, it's a normal salary. But for some people now, oh no, 250 grand a week. I'm gonna be bankrupt. Like, Nico Williams... We ain't giving him that. It's the reason why nothing has happened in the last 2 years for Nico Williams, but we've been linked with him time and time and time again. It's not happening. It's not happening. Jamie Gittins, though, that is happening. I think that will happen. I'm pretty nailed on for that to happen. Alejandro Garnacho is just ridiculous. I don't even understand why we're still interested in this guy. I don't doubt that we are. I think we are interested in Garnacho. I'm not sure if we actually get him because I think United are just as insane as us and they'll probably want to keep him. So, you know, maybe what tempts United to sell is just the money that they probably can get for a player of his caliber, which isn't very high, if we're talking completely honest. So for Garnacho, I don't doubt that Chelsea are interested. I just don't see anything happening. But Jamie Gittins, I do. And I'll tell you why. Jamie Gittins fits the bill on everything that Chelsea are looking for. And on top of that, Borussia Dortmund are wanting to keep Carney Chukwuemeka. That can be immediate PSR, make weight for Jamie Gittins to come in instantly. I don't think it'll cost too much money. He's a young winger. I'm not going to lie, he's all right. But I don't need all right now. I need someone who's going to be flipping unbelievable. You know, we're constantly doing this. We're constantly just going with, this might be okay, and then we end up suffering. And that's what I think is going to happen. You bring any young player into this environment, and I think they stagnate. I think they struggle. That's my... until we start implementing some upper class in this team, all the young players are going to suffer. This is why I'm looking at someone like Esteval Willian, and I'm worried for what he's going to be coming into. Because I'm worried after a certain amount of time, we're going to bring his level down to ours. I think he has big potential without a doubt, yeah? But it's potential. He's not hit it yet. What's potential when you don't actually hit those levels? It becomes a fugazi. It becomes a nothing. It becomes something that doesn't exist. It doesn't have any matter. That development's got to be real. But that development comes when you've got other players that are setting levels for them to aspire to get to. Jamie Gittins, I think, will come in, maybe have a few bright moments at first, then just end up one of the guys. And that's it. So, we'll see. But I think Gittins will happen. Nico Williams, absolutely no chance. But if it were me, Nico Williams instantly. Instantly. If we're serious, we get Osimhen, we have Williams. That's an upgrade. Immediately. But that's going to cost a little bit of money. Do you see what I mean? To get those sort of players, you need to pay. When you don't pay, you don't get those players, which means you struggle. It's 2 + 2 + 2 = 6. That concept seems to have left football. Well, it seems to have left Chelsea, that's for sure. Centrebacks. So, Dean Huijsen, Jared Branthwaite, Mark Guehi. This one's an interesting one because for once, Chelsea are linked with someone that I think can happen that I'm in favour of. I like Dean Huijsen. I'd take Dean Huijsen. My only problem with Dean Huijsen isn't anything to do with him on a football pitch. I think he's a good defender. I was going to say great defender, but again, he's young. But so far, so good. With Dean Huijsen, so far, so good. And he's actually been around the block for a boy of his age. He's been about. He's Juventus, if I'm not mistaken, Roma, Bournemouth, and he's 19. And he's solid. I think he's definitely got a bright future. He's already been in the Premier League. He's been playing really well. Wherever he goes, he plays well. He's strong. I like him. But when you look at what he brings, and when you look at what Chelsea need, it's not enough for the team. I would take Dean Huijsen, but we still need a centre-back, ironically. Some would say, no, it's fine. He'll just pair with Fofana. Listen, I'm not talking about Fofana again. Nothing against him. But the man belongs in a hospital now. Done. You will not get Fofana at the top level again. it's as far as I'm concerned, unless he goes somewhere else, probably another country with a little less intensity where he can take his time and get back to a decent level. But apart from that, it's not happening. It's not happening. The man gets injured literally every 5 minutes. So, not happening. Dean Huijsen still needs someone next to him. See, if we had Rudiger, that's the one thing that I look at the previous ownership. I look at Marina and I go, well, what did you do? And I know that it's got nothing to do with football. I think that's pretty clear. We know about the Rudiger story. We know what happened. That had nothing to do with football in terms of Rudiger's ability on the pitch. It was purely issues off the pitch, contractual things, agents, directors. It was just a madness, yeah? So much so, the whole thing went to court cases. But with, if we had Rudiger, Dean Huijsen, perfect. You see what I mean? We need that type of aggressor. We need someone that's going to come in and break some legs. We need that sort of defender. You pair him up with a Dean Huijsen, and I think you've got a good partnership. We don't have any defender like that. And Levi Colwell's not that guy, by the way. Some people are going to go, Colwell. No. Colwell's a weird one. Colwell looks like a guy that can fight. Yeah? But then when he gets into trouble with someone, he folds. He looks like that guy. Now, I'm not saying that on a personal level too. I'm just saying on the football pitch. That's an analogy. On the football pitch, he looks like someone that's going to be aggressive, but then he's not. He comes across as Mr. Nice Guy. You know? I don't know. We don't have anyone at the club right now, a centre-back, that is good enough for level in terms of reading the game, timing themselves, being an overall decent centre-back, but on top of that, having that aggressive nature. Rudiger for me is that. We don't have that. So Dean Huijsen coming in, we need to still partner him up with someone. Now, Dean Huijsen, my only problem with him is that I think he goes off to Real Madrid at some point. The problem is, some people will go, yeah, but what's wrong with that? Eden Hazard left to Real Madrid. Yeah, but Eden Hazard left to Real Madrid, what, 8 years after he joined? Yeah, I'm happy with that. You're going to stay at the club for 8 years or so? Yeah, not a problem. That's fine. Or 7 years? That's cool. That's a decent amount of time. I don't mind that. But if you're here and then 2 seasons later you're gone, which is probably what will happen, I'm not for that. What's the point? You know? So he's made it public already that his dream is Real Madrid. He is a Spanish boy as well. So I expect it to happen at some point. And Chelsea would cash in. Clear Lake would cash in because they'll get more money for what they initially have had to pay. Probably they'll probably put something in where it's going to be 7 or 8 years. They'll make sure that the fee is going to be astronomical. Real Madrid will probably afford that. They'll come and buy him, and Chelsea will be happy with the money. And then they'll go and get 2 or 3 young players again. That's probably how it's going to go down. So this is the thing. With the other 2 centre-backs, Branthwaite, I don't see happening. Branthwaite is a decent centre-back too. Branthwaite could be that guy that I was describing, but it's all a little uncertain. I'm not sure what happens in his regard. Another one, for example, Dan Burn. You see the type of defender Dan Burn is? That I wouldn't mind having a bit of that. That is what needs to partner up with Huijsen. You see? Someone flipping monster, physical, flipping, get out my way, I'm a truck. That sort of defender. Mark Gurhey, funnily enough, is a decent centre-back. Does have an aggressive nature. You'd think there's nothing wrong with that. But the guy is tiny, man. You put a 6-foot defender next to him. Sorry, a 6-foot attacker next to him. Gurhey's not winning any duels. It's not happening, mate. In the air, we already struggle. Mark Gurhey does not help the cause. Does not help the situation. That's the only downside. If Gurhey was taller, I'd be like, okay. But he's not. That's the limitation. That's the limitation here. So that's the situation. With all the names mentioned, I'll recap on screen. Take a look. Take it all in. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Who would you take? What would you do? What do you expect Chelsea to do? And how do you think it's all going to pan out? Let me know down below. Much appreciated. And I will catch all of you later on. I'm saying later on. This is being filmed. This is coming out tomorrow. So later on, you're going to be getting the top 5 scenario. And I'm going to lay it all down in layman's terms for exactly what is going to happen for the top 5, top 6, and how it's all going to end towards the end of the season. Where is everyone going to finish? And will Chelsea make Champions League football? I will put it into layman's terms for everyone to easily understand the situation. So make sure you're here later on for that video, and I'll catch all of you then. Subscribe, notification bell on. See you lot later in a bit. Take care and peace.